This week, let's design a business card. Okay. So here we've got your traditional, usual, no frills business card, name, contact information, a field of color, a small graphic. Okay. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing special. But let's figure out how to do this real quick in Canva. Okay. So once you open up Canva, you will create a account, and then you'll pop up and it'll be all your stuff, and then you can create something like a business card, and you can search for it all over the place. Okay. Now, what I want you to do, you could definitely use a template. Okay. But I want you to create one from scratch for two reasons. One, if you find a business card template that you like, now you're going to have to create all of the other material for this class based off of this template, and that becomes more work than it's worth. And two, you have to learn how to use some of the design features in Canva anyway, so you might as well do it on an easy project like a business card instead of a more difficult project like the poster. Okay? So we'll go ahead and we'll create a blank business card. It's taking its time. Okay, so one of the first things that I want to do when I've got my base business card template in Canva open is go up to this File menu, go down to View Settings. I want you, if it's not already selected, to do Show Rulers and Guides, Show Margins, and then do it again and show Print Bleed. And I'll explain what those are in a minute. Okay, so here's what we have. Okay, this inner line now is our 2 by 3.5 inch business card. Okay, this innermost line is our margin. Okay, that's keeping us roughly, what is it, an 1/8 inch away from the trim. Okay, I'm sorry, I should have called this the trim. This is the trim line. Okay, our 2 by 3.5 inch card will be cut right here. So this should actually have, like, the little scissor icon, right? This is where the trim will happen. This is our margin to keep things away from that trim. And then this is our bleed out here. Okay, this is the paper that will be trimmed away. Okay, and I'll explain why that's important in a minute. Okay, but first off, let's go ahead and select text. Okay, I'm just going to add a heading. Okay. Drop it in there, put my name. And then I'm going to move it around. Now, if you click in the text, you will get your cursor. If you click out, click once, and hover over this line, then you should be able to drag it. Okay. If you drag from a corner, you'll just move it around, enlarge it, things like that, which you don't want to do. Okay. You want to grab here, and now I've put it up against my margin. And when I grabbed it and I scaled it, I gave it this weird point size, 18.6. Okay. You'll find out later on in the course why it's important to always type in a solid number. Okay. Too big. Let's do 20. Okay. When we get into the typography class, things like that, I'll explain a little bit why that solid number is important. You see here, I've gone a little bit over the edge. I'll drag this over. Okay. And then you realize that I'm not at the top of the box here. Okay. This box is going to represent the most extremes of the font. So see here, the box hits the lowest part of the letter G. So it's probably the lowest letter. Maybe the lowercase p would come this far as well. And then what the highest letter would be. Now, what would be higher than a capital H? Well, maybe they have a character that is a capital with an accent over top of it. Okay, so that would then leave room for that character in that box. But since I'm not dealing with any of those, I can go ahead and nudge this up so that I am right on that border. Now I'm staying within my within my margin, safely away from my trim. Okay. Let's go back and see what color we made that. Right? Did we make it a color? We did. We made it blue. Okay. So how do we choose the color? We'll go up after we highlight the text, and you'll see that icon right there, text color. When I click on text color, it doesn't look quite like the one in Photoshop, does it? It's got some defaults. We can add our brands. Okay. We'll create a new one. Okay. Let's create a new one. Again, not quite like the one in Photoshop. It's only giving us a hex value. Okay. So if I scroll around here, I give my hex value. Again, that's 6 digits, 7B1717. Okay. You have no idea using Canvas whether that's a 3-color ink, a 4-color ink. You don't know what it would look like in RGB. Okay, that's just the extent of Canva. We're going to deal with this limitation, knowing if we were to actually get these professionally printed, we would have to further conversations about the colors. Okay, for Drexel, let's just go with this guy right here, kind of close enough, right? So there is our first line. Let's add a subheading. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over into InDesign, open that file. Copy all this out of there. I'm going to paste this in here. Highlight it all. I want it to be black, so we can go to our default black. I can left justify it. And again, drag it up to there as well. Let's go back and check our cheat sheet here. And you'll see I bolded this one and I did not bold that one. So that's what I'll do. Now, I've got this font here, I've got this font here. I didn't change the font, it's a step I kind of forgot. So I'm going to go up here and choose. It's only giving me one font, huh? All right, well, normally a font list would appear there. Don't know why it is failing right now. There it is, just took a while to load. Okay. So I'm going to go with one I've used before, Roboto. Okay. Let's tweak my spacing a little bit, so go ahead and move that over. And we'll do the same thing with this batch here. All right, so there we are. And then I can duplicate this guy. Back and steal the rest of that copy. Okay. I'm going to go up here, I'm going to do paste and match style, so it keeps all of that bold and Roboto font in there. And draw that guy down to there. This guy. About there. Okay. Don't forget to save these as you work as well. Okay, so now let's work on that blue block of color here. Okay. So we can go back and go to Elements. Recently used. I can click on my square here. It already comes in as the blue. And I can go ahead and drag it where I want it. Now you'll notice I'm dragging it past the trim. Okay. Remember, inner line is the margin, next line is the trim, and this is the bleed. Okay. What that does is that allows for any imperfection in the cutting. If the lines for the slicer will be even slightly off, and the slice is running right down the trim line, and that's where it took the blue to, and we're slightly off, it might actually come out looking like, so it would be in this file here, it would look like that. Okay. Trim would be slightly off, the blue stops too soon, and now I've got this little white line of no ink running down the side of my card. Okay. So we don't want that to happen, so we always go past, and a considerable amount too. Okay. It becomes a lot more apparent when we get into the large documents later in the course as to why we go so far past. Okay. But for a business card, 1/8 of an inch is plenty of room for bleed. Okay. So there's our block going out to the edge. We've got our margin, we're staying away from the trim with our information. And then I'll put in that Drexel logo. You guys can upload any graphic of your choice. Now I'm going slightly past the margin with my graphic, okay? Just because, you know, it's not important information, just Mario's nose, okay? So we can, you know, violate that margin a little bit for the graphic, okay? And that's basically it. Now what I would do then is I would export this, okay? What I don't want you to do is to send me links to your work. The links expire and cause all sorts of problems. What I want you to do is I want you to download them so that you have it saved, and then send me the file, okay, the downloaded file. Okay. So that would be right there in order to download it and send it to me. Okay. So for the assignment for the business card, okay, you're going to create a business card for yourself or a fictitious person. You're going to give yourself a role, you know, owner, head chef, master distiller, etc. Give me some bogus contact information, and, you know, bogus email, bogus phone number, etc. Okay. A graphic, if you've got one in mind, if you can steal one, whatever you'd like to do. Okay. Now you'll see the Mario I used is a white graphic with a transparent background. Some of you will have the ability to do this and some of you won't. If you want to pull something like that off, if you've got a logo and it's stuck on a white background or something like that, just send it to me in an email with a little note. Hey, can I get this on a transparent background? And I'll quickly tweak the logo and send you the file back so that you can use it throughout the rest of the course for all of your materials, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to start to think about the colors that you're going to use for your fictitious organization, okay? You know, if it's a bakery that specializes in birthday cakes, you're not going to go with blacks and grays and dark reds, right? That would be for more of a high-end establishment, right? And if I've got, you know, a $200 entree restaurant, the pinks and light blues aren't probably going to be what I'm looking for, right? So once you start to think about color, we will discuss color a lot more in the future class about how it's used and its meanings. But start to get an idea. You're familiar of what colors are appropriate for what organizations, okay? I want you to think about fonts, okay? A font that you can use, and there'll be probably 2 and possibly even 3. One might be a little bit more decorative, a little bit more useful for headers. Another one might be more for copy. Make sure that those 2 work together. We'll get more into typography next week, I believe. But start to think about fonts, okay? And then for the technical side of this, again, like I said, we don't grade so much on design as we do on the technicality part, the readability part, okay? If I had put this dark text on this blue background, that becomes too difficult to read, okay? That would cause a reduction in the grade. I need something that's very readable. Okay, so putting dark text on dark backgrounds is going to cause a problem. So let's not do that. Another very common mistake is completely ignoring the margin. Okay, everyone has a 2 by 3.5 inch card, and I will see students, even after I say this, will literally put the text right on the trim line. Okay, so that basically when this card's cut out, that S is literally touching the edge of the card. Okay, so we don't want that. So don't ignore the margins. Don't ignore the trim. Okay, and one of the requirements is that something bleed off. Okay, you must have some block of color somewhere that touches the edges, so that you start to learn how to put bleed on a particular document. Okay, so you have to have a piece of color that must leave the edge of the document, the edge of the business card. Okay, so there's your requirements. You need to choose some fonts, choose some colors, grab a graphic, create a name and a position and some fake information, and then have at least one element on there that will bleed off the edge. Okay, that is the assignment. That is due Thursday midnight. So, like I said, download and send it to me in an email, and that's all. Take care of the required readings before you do the business card. Okay. There's some stuff in there that you will find helpful. Don't forget the class discussion board, and I will look forward to seeing what you come up with. Thanks.